Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. New York's court system is a complicated, confusing, and often dysfunctional branch of state government. There are 11 different kinds of courts, just at the lowest level. But then there's the mid-tier appellate courts. And at the top is New York's Court of Appeals, basically our equivalent to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the chief judge of the Court of Appeals also doubles as the head of the state's entire judicial branch. It's a really important job that affects each and every New Yorker every day. And that's why Governor Kathy Hochul's nominee for chief judge, Hector LaSalle, has gotten a lot of pushback from progressives. He's a presiding justice of one of the state's 4 appellate courts. And progressives don't like him because they say he's shown a pattern of siding with prosecutors and against unions. Some legal analysts have said that criticism is overblown. But he got the chance to defend himself this week when the Senate held a hearing on his nomination, saying those decisions shouldn't define him.
I see a case, I rule on it, I decide it. I don't then say, oh boy, I just had 4 cases where I agreed with the prosecutor, I better agree with the defense. So it could go the other way too. We make determinations based on what's in front of us, case by case. Every person is treated as an individual, and their case is treated as an individual, not in aggregate. That's not how we decide cases.
But after 5 hours of testimony and a lot of questions, the Judiciary Committee voted down LaSalle's nomination. And we don't really know what that means. Some, like Governor Hochul, think it doesn't matter, and that the state constitution still requires a full floor vote in the Senate. But others say that's not the case, and that LaSalle's nomination is now dead. That includes Senate Judiciary Chair Brad Hoylman Siegel.
It's our assessment that the Senate has performed its responsibilities pursuant to the state constitution. We have rejected the nominee pursuant to the Senate rules and the Constitution, and the process starts anew.
But there are still a lot of questions about what's next. Let's get into it with this week's panel. Yancey Roy is from Newsday, and Josh Solomon is from the TU. Thank you, guys. So, Yancey, where do we go from here?
Well, a lot of it depends on the decisions by Governor Kathy Hochul. The Senate committee has voted down Hector LaSalle. Kathy Hochul makes a case, as do her supporters, as do the former chief judge of New York State, make the case that that's not sufficient. That what the Constitution and the state statutes call for is a vote of the full Senate, and they're saying that this still has to proceed to the full Senate, where it might be a different outcome. Now, they say they have the law on their side, but there's the law, and then there's the political strategy.
Yeah.
Does she want to pick this fight? Does she want to fight it to the end, not only for Hector LaSalle, but to fight it to the end of executive branch versus legislative branch? And how does that play out with a state budget coming out?
That is, it's so interesting to me. Josh, take me behind the scenes of what's happening here as much as we know. And I mean, like, I say that like it's a strong term because we didn't even know if he was going to pass the Judiciary Committee but when he went to the hearing on Wednesday. So take me behind what Democrats are going through right now.
Well, publicly, public-facing Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins is saying, we're good, we're following the rules, and we're going to keep doing that. We're going to follow our rules. Now, from what I've understood, no one has retained counsel yet. Maybe as of this morning it'll be different. Or apparently the governor's office is seeking to retain counsel. My former colleague Chris Bragg with the Buffalo News said that that the governor's office is going to retain counsel. Comptroller's office hasn't found that yet. No contracts have gone forward. It's a bit of a mess, but you see a lot of kind of jockeying right now. The news coming out the night before the vote that the governor is going to retain counsel. Now the majority leader is saying, well, no, we're not doing anything yet. We're going to wait and see what the governor does. We're kind of all waiting as well.
It's a waiting game. Historically, judicial nominations in New York for the Court of Appeals and for the appellate departments as well are kind of more rubber stamped by the Senate, Yancey. They have a very short hearing usually before the Judiciary Committee. Usually, sometimes it's as short as 10 minutes. And then they go straight to the floor same day usually and get a near unanimous vote. Why is this one different?
This one is different because of sort of the political climate and the recent history of the court. Among other things, what you have now is you have a strong Democratic majority in the legislature, especially the Senate, that's more progressive, more liberal than the governor. They want to change the direction of the court, which has moved to the right in the last few years. And they say, get beyond maybe any individual decisions that's been discussed about Hector LaSalle. One of the things that they want to do is not have a court that's so dominated by ex-prosecutors, and they want someone from a different area of the law. And sort of the overview, the macro, that's sort of a big issue here beyond any specific interest groups and decisions that have been discussed about Judge LaSalle.
The situation is really interesting to me in terms of judicial dynamics, too, because we have the former Chief Judge, as you said, Jonathan Lippman, supporting Hector LaSalle. And he was a very different Chief Judge than the most recent Chief Judge, Janet DeFiore. Do you think that changes things at all?
Well, the issue here is that what's happened a little bit with the court. They've sided a lot more with prosecutions in the under Janet DeFiore. They've certainly cut down on the number of cases that come before the court, and that's another sort of raw territory for defenders and other side of prosecutors. So they want someone to change the direction. And they say that Judge LaSalle, from his profile, isn't that person.
So, Josh, going back to the retaining counsel question, that would mean if they did retain counsel, it could just be for counsel. It could be to have a lawsuit against the Senate, which, just for our viewers, it would mean that public money pays for the governor's counsel, public money pays for the Senate's counsel, and they go at it in court until we have a, resolution or conclusion of some sort. Take me to the politics. Before we came on the air, we were talking a little bit about down the road, these next few months, this is a disagreement between the governor and the Senate, but that could have wider ripples. What do you think?
Both sides say that everything's still cordial, things are fine.
Yeah.
The budget will go smoothly. The governor is going to be putting out her executive budget on around February 1st. And then, we have till the beginning of April for the state to negotiate a budget. And so this is going to be playing out while they're negotiating a budget. And let's not forget, progressives have different asks in the budget than what the governor has already laid out. Yeah. Good cause eviction, hiking the minimum wage before adjusting it to inflation. There are significant asks that they have that the governor doesn't want and that the moderate bloc of the Democrats don't want. And so that could play out in some of the politicking at play here.
Though I don't know if it's enough to say that, to have progressives say, give us X, Y, Z, and we will confirm Hector LaSalle. What do you think? It seems like no matter what, they want to block him.
Yes, I mean, they want to block him. And let's not forget that it was the Court of Appeals on a 5-4 decision that struck down their political maps during redistricting, right, which then led in part to the Republican majority in Congress. And those same progressive senators say it is extremely important, and even the majority leader says it's extremely important to counter the balance of the Supreme Court with our court, and we need to be, a sword to their shield, so to speak.
It's interesting.
There's two things to point out. One thing that hurt Judge LaSalle in the vote, it's not just the progressive wing that had opposed him. There were heavy hitters from labor who opposed him. There was the NAACP. There were abortion rights groups. I think it's fair to say if it were only the progressives, we might have had a different outcome. But it's not just a progressive. It's a sort of wide branch of supporters of the Democratic Party. And the other thing about how long this plays out, while we're talking about the budget, which is due in April and all of that, meanwhile, the Court of Appeals has 6 judges.
I was just going to ask you about that.
And it's a potential for a lot of 3-3 decisions. Just last week, in the set of decisions that get handed down routinely, there were 2 cases that the court said will have to be re-argued. Now, they never say exactly why they were re-argued, but you can kind of guess that maybe one or both of those cases came up deadlocked 3-3, and they couldn't reach a decision, and that's why they're now being re-argued. So how long does the court wait before they agitate a bit and say, we need a seventh judge, we need a chief judge here?
Right, the dynamics of the Court of Appeals right now are very interesting because you do have, for lack of a better term, a conservative bloc on that court and a slightly smaller, more progressive, more moderate part of that court, and judges like Rowan Wilson and Jenny Rivera. So I think people are looking for a judge that maybe shakes things up, but we are out of time. Always great to talk to both of you. Josh Solomon from the TU, Yancey Roy from Newsday, thank you.